Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm George Grace Jr. Welcome to Wednesday evening, Peoria Municipal Band. Under the Sea, that is our theme for tonight. I guess it deals with fish and sharks and mermaids and I guess whatever you find under the sea. Jeremy Clark out of the percussion section will be doing a snare drum solo with us this week, and Miss Libby Moore is our vocalist. Good things for an exciting night of music. So please welcome Libby Moore and Dr. David Vroman.
Please rise if you are able and join me in singing the national anthem.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous night, for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket and the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Sailors, let stars hang out, banner yet red, for the land of the brave and the home of the brave.
Well, thank you and good evening. It's great to see you all out here tonight. Hopefully it just stays nice breeze, little cloud cover, and we keep the water under the sea tonight and not from the sky. If you hear this sound tonight, those of you out by the tracks, if you hear that sound, then we just ask you to leave your chair and stand by the cars, okay? And that way the train will pass through. Otherwise it'll stop and you'll hear that sound a lot more. We're going to start with a piece that's called Of Men and the Sea. How many scuba divers are out there? Checking for scuba divers. How many scuba divers in the band? Yeah, Carl and Jason. They both are scuba divers. So if you have any interest in scuba diving, that's who you want to talk to when the concert's over tonight. This piece was written by a gentleman named Roland Barrett, and he was part of the music theory and composition faculty at the University of Oklahoma. He joined them back in 2001. He writes for the marching band, so if you've ever seen Oklahoma's marching band before, you would have heard his arrangements, I'm sure. Prior to that, he was a high school band director, very successful, and he has about 200 works that are published to his credit. A lot of brass ensemble, concert band, and of course, marching band works. He said that this piece that he wrote, he said he wanted to evoke the heroic spirit of the early seafarers, those brave sailors who traversed the high seas during the peak of the clipper ship era. So that's where we're going to take you right now. Roland Barrett's Of Men and the Sea. Just this weekend in the Wall Street Journal, there was a little article about the next composer that we're going to play, John Philip Sousa, and it had to do with his patriotism and his dedication to country. This march is one that is entitled Hands Across the Sea, and it was written in 1899, and he said that, and this is what he wrote, and by the way, when he wrote this, or when he reflected on writing this march, he was actually up in the Chicago area at the Great Lakes Naval Station up there, and he conducted that band during the war in 1918. But he said after the Spanish War, he said there was some negative feeling in Europe and not sure about the war, and some of the nations didn't agree, thought we were not justified, others thought it was fine, and he said he was reading an old play. Now, how many people like to read a play? I just wonder how many people read a play. He was reading a play and he found this line in it. It said, "A sudden thought strikes me, let us swear an eternal friendship." And he said that immediately suggested to him the title of Hands Across the Sea, and that march within just a few weeks of being premiered became very famous. So John Philip Sousa's Hands Across the Sea. Well, you briefly met our vocal soloist this week right at the beginning of the concert, but let me fill you in with some information. She's a soprano. Libby Moore is from Washington, Illinois. That's where she hails from. Currently on the staff at Illinois Central College, teaching some applied voice and music appreciation courses. Prior to that, she's taught at Knox College and Eureka College. And in addition to her collegiate teaching, she does quite a bit of teaching, both voice and piano, at a studio in her home and also with a partnership at Washington Community High School. She is a professional chorister and soprano section leader with Nova Singers. How many people have heard Nova Singers from out of Galesburg? Absolutely. Those are great concerts to attend. She's an at-large board member for the Central Illinois chapter of NATS, which is the National Association for Teachers of Singing. And she's in other professional organizations. This fall, she's going to start working in a certificate program in vocology, and she's going to do that through Lamar University down in Texas. Time off, spending time with her family, and doing church duties as well. Please welcome our vocal soloist for the week, Miss Libby Moore. Libby?
Thank you for having me. I'd like to start off tonight with a piece from George Bizet's famous opera, Carmen. Carmen is a prolific example of what we call romantic exoticism, meaning that Carmen drew from native sources in Spain and Cuba in the writing of this opera to create sort of a Spanish flair, if you will. So the aria that I will sing for you tonight is sung by the title character, Carmen. And Carmen has just finished up the day working in the cigarette factory, and her comrades are walking in the town square, kind of hanging out, and a group of men approach her, and they say, "Carmen, when will you love me?" And Carmen says, "What is love? Love is fickle. If I love you, you better watch out." So this is the habanera.
L'amour est un oiseau rebelle que nul ne peut apprivoiser. Il sait bien en vainquant l'appel s'il lui convient de refuser. Il fait menace prière, l'un parle bien, l'autre se tait. C'est l'autre que je préfère. Il n'a rien dit, mais il me plaît. L'amour est enfant du bohème. Il n'a jamais connu de loi. Si tu ne m'aimes pas, je t'aime. Si je t'aime, prends garde à toi. Si tu ne m'aimes pas, si tu ne m'aimes pas, je t'aime. Mais si je t'aime, si je t'aime, prends garde à toi. L'oiseau que tu croyais si prendre battit de l'aile et s'envola. L'amour est loin, tu peux l'attendre, tu ne l'attends plus, il est là. Autour de toi, vite, il vient, ça va, puis il revient. Tu crois le tenir vite, il croit le vite et il te tient. L'amour est enfant de bohème. Il n'a jamais connu de loi. Si tu ne m'aimes pas, je t'aime. ne m'aimes pas, si tu ne m'aimes pas, je t'aime. Mais si je t'aime, si je t'aime, regarde-toi.
Thank you. What a fun piece to sing. This next selection for you comes from Franz Lehar's operetta, The Merry Widow, and it is the song Velia. Velia is a piece of folklore in Germany. And the story of Velia is that she's a mountain sprite, and she has lured this lost huntsman into her forest, and she caresses him, and she enchants him, and then she disappears. And he is left for all of eternity wandering the forest, calling out her name, Velia, oh Velia, love me, and I'll die for you. This is Velia.
There once was a Velia, fair mountain sprite. She danced on a hill in the still of the night. A huntsman came by who was comely and tall. His eyes was upraised by the cool waterfall. Suddenly he turned amazed, and suddenly stood and gazed. Listen to his sweet love tale. Velia, oh Velia, my lamp of delight, haunting the woodland, enchanting the night. Velia, oh Velia, tender be true. Love me and I'll die for you. Velia, oh Velia, tender be true. Love me and I'll die for you. She welcomes the huntsman with white lily hand, and soon they were lost in a strange fairyland. She kissed him, caressed him, then fled like a dream. He walked alone by the cool running stream. Gypsies on the far hillside still hear him calling far and wide. Stairway and vale echo with his sad love tale. Velia, oh Velia, my lamp of delight.
Thank you, Libby. This next work is by a gentleman named David Rose, and he is a composer, conductor for many years, worked in television films. His career spanned over 65 years, and he had several long runs on radio and television. My guess is you will not recognize the waltz we're about to play, but his single best-known composition was The Stripper. And then he wrote theme music for the television show Bonanza. And he was the musical conductor for about 15 years for the Red Skelton Show. And by the way, you might have Red Skelton's LP at home, his concert band record, and that was kind of inspired by David Rose. He was born in London, and he came to Chicago, and that's kind of where he got his start. He played in dance bands and went to Chicago College of Music. Then he went out to Hollywood, and he was supposed to go out there for a job, and that kind of went away, so he started writing arrangements for people like Dorothy Lamour, Don Amici, Jeanette MacDonald, and Martha Raye. Now, he married Martha Raye, but that didn't last very long, and they divorced in 1941 or something. Then he married Judy Garland. You've probably never heard of her, Judy Garland. And she was just 20 years old at that time. So that marriage only lasted for 3 years. But in spite of all this, Emmy Award winner, Grammys, all sorts of different things, David Rose, this is just a little waltz that he wrote. That's Jeremy Clark, right there. Give him a round of applause. Jeremy got his associate in arts degree from Illinois Central College. He also attended Bradley and studied percussion with Peggy Bonner. Toured through the United States with various groups, Jack Morgan and Russ Morgan Orchestra, the world-famous Dallas Brass, and the list goes on. Lived in St. Louis for a time, and when he was down there, he performed with the St. Louis Brass Band, St. Charles Municipal Band, St. Charles Big Band, Compton Heights Band, Gateway City Big Band, and the Blue Knights of Swing. He couldn't find any groups to perform with. Now he resides back here in Central Illinois, thankfully, so as you know, he plays with us. But how many of you have seen his group, JC and the Redemption? How many of you have seen them? If you get a chance to see them, you're going to want to catch them because it's just a lot of fun. That's all there is. 11-piece soul funk band. Just a lot of fun. That's what I will tell you. Drumline instructor at Dunlap High School, does the front ensemble at Limestone High School, still helping youngsters, and also does Clark Music Studios, so giving private lessons to young up-and-coming percussionists. The solo he's going to do tonight is by a gentleman named Spica. He wrote the drum solo part, and another person then put music with this, and then we have what we call rim shot. So once again, give Jeremy Clark a nice big welcome, would you? Could you see his hands? I should have pointed that out. You'll have to come to Glen Oak Park on Sunday night, okay, 7 o'clock, and see that again where you can see under the lights and you can see his hands. At no time did his fingers leave his hands. It was amazing what he did. Give Jeremy Clark another round of applause, would you? Here's a movie line. What movie does it go to? I believe you're going to need a bigger boat. Jaws. Got it right up here in the front. 1975 thriller film. 1974 the book came out. You know, it wasn't supposed to come out until Christmas, but it came out the following summer and, of course, became a big hit. Did you know in that film, if you watch that film, Jaws, how many people have seen that film, Jaws? Yeah, see it with a friend, okay? Police Chief Brody's dogs, those are actually Steven Spielberg's at that time. Those were his Cocker Spaniels, Elmer and Zalman. Those were his personal dogs. And, you know, Steven Spielberg, he got his head stuck in the jaws at one time. They snuck into where the mechanical jaws was being made, and he put his head in there, and they were goofing around, and somebody pulled one of the levers, and he was stuck. And they had to pry it open, and they thought they broke it. They snuck out. They didn't tell people till years later. The shark's name, who remembers what the shark's name was? Bruce, that's right. Good job. Music, of course, by John Williams. And Spielberg said that when John Williams came in and sat down and started to play the music, he laughed. He said John Williams was kind of a prankster and stuff. He thought he was kidding. He just played that little two-note theme that we remember. And he's like, yeah, I wasn't really thinking about that. John Williams said, no, I'm serious about this. And he said, of course, John Williams was right. Our little medley has the main title that you're familiar with. Then it has the first victim. Who was the first victim in the movie? Chrissy, that's right. Did you look this up ahead of time? You're online. No fair. And then the third movement, and these are all together. There's no real stops in between, kind of. Out to sea, and then finally, epilogue. So some of this is just about color in that, and if you close your eyes and imagine a shark in the Illinois River, we'll be right there. This is a Jaws suite. So now, please join me and welcome back to the microphone our vocal soloist for the week, Libby Moore. Libby?
Thank you. I'd like to start off this next set with a piece from a 1966 Broadway musical, Sweet Charity, with music by Cy Coleman and Dorothy Fields, and choreography by the infamous Bob Fosse of Jazz Hands fame. So in this piece, the title character, Charity Hope Valentine, has just run into a bit of unexpected luck, and she can't wait to tell her friends all about it. This is If My Friends Could See Me Now. If they could see me now, that little gang of mine, I'm eating fancy chow and drinking fancy wine. I'd like to stumble bums to see for a fact the kind of top drawer first-rate chums I attract. All I can say is, wow, look at where I am. It's like I landed, pow, right in a pot of jam. What a setup, holy cow. They'd never believe it if my friends could see me now. dusty group, traipsing round this $1,000,000 chicken coop. I'd hear those thrift shop cats say, brother, get her, draped on a bedspread made from 3 kinds of fur. All I can say is, wow, wait till the riff and raff, see just exactly how he signed his autograph. What a build-up, holy cow, they'd never believe it if my friends could see me. Thank you. I would like to close tonight with a piece from Disney's movie musical Pocahontas. I had the privilege of taking my kids to Disney World this year for their first full-out Disney experience, and one of my favorite things that we did while we were there was the Anna and Elsa Disney Frozen sing-along. How many of you have been to that? Maybe some of you that have little kids. It's kind of a newer thing, but anyway, it's just like you would imagine. People of every generation and from people all across the world singing together the tunes of Frozen. So it's kind of a neat experience. So I invite you tonight, as I sing this next song, I invite you to join me. If you know the lyrics, go ahead and sing along. This is Colors of the Wind.
The earth is just a dead thing you can claim, but I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. You think the only people who are people who look and think like you. If you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew, Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue-corn moon, or asked the grinning bobcat why he grinned? Can you sing with all the voices of the mountain? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Come run the hidden pine trails of the forest. Come taste the sun-sweet berries of the earth. Come roll in all the riches all around you, and for once never wonder what they're worth. The rainstorm and the river are my brothers. The heron and the otter are my friends, and we are all connected to each other in a circle, in a hoop that never ends. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue-corn moon, or asked the grinning bobcat why he grinned? Can you sing with all the voices of the mountain?
What are you thinking, Todd? Todd needs to pick his stuff up. He's only slightly panicked. We really appreciate you coming out. We want to remind you about Sunday night, Glen Oak Park, 7 o'clock. And it's supposed to be beautiful this weekend. So we appreciate coming out. As you head for cover or whatever, we're going to give you moments to reflect on what a great country it is in which we live. And in sprinkling rain, while he tears all our stuff down, this is America the Beautiful.
Hi. Thank you for standing. I'll pick it myself. Jen Schwa. Jen, where are you? Right there.